guys, welcome to my channel. Today is another episode of Be Empowered by Pastor B, and I just want to encourage everyone watching. I hope you've subscribed. I hope you've shared these videos that I'm bringing to you to just empower everyone as we journey through life. The messages here are for young and old, male and female, so that we can live the life that God has designed for us, a life that is joyful, a life of abundance, and a life that is, impactful, meaning being a blessing to other people. So make sure you subscribe and make sure you share the videos as I bring them to you. So today I'll be talking about parenting. This is something I believe, it's common. It's something we all, find ourselves in at some point in life. It can also be overwhelming if it's not well thought out through. So I just want to really share a few nuggets on how to be a parent, to parent on purpose. It's so important in the world we live in today. As we know, there's a great attack on family, there's a great attack on children, and parents, we are the ones that can raise healthy children. So I will be sharing a few points to help parents successfully, to parent on purpose. Before I go into my talk, I want to read from the scripture, because everything about our life, the Christian life, is based on the word of God. And there's a very popular scripture in the Psalm 127, where Bible talks about, the joy of a parent, that it's a gift from God. So that's the first thing I want to establish in the mind of everyone. If you found yourself as a parent, you may be a single parent, you may be, of course, two parents living together in a household. Whichever way you find yourself, you may be a young parent, maybe even, in your younger years, a teenage parent. Whatever the situation is, being a parent is a gift. It's a calling, and it's not something to despise. Psalm 127 says, "Unless the Lord builds the house, the builders labor in vain. Unless the Lord watches over the city, the watchmen stand guard in vain. In vain you rise early and stay up late, toiling for food to eat, for a grand sleep to those he loves." Basically, what this scripture is saying is that it takes God to build a family. It takes the grace of God. It takes the help of God, the wisdom of God to build a family. It's not just about the income you have. It's not just about, your partner. God needs to be in the mix of being able to build a home, be a parent, and to build a family. Verse 3 says, and I'm reading from the NIV, "Sons are a heritage from God, children a reward from Him." So children are a reward from God. Like arrows in the hands of a warrior are sons born in one's youth. Blessed is the man whose quiver is full of them. They will not be put to shame when they contend with their enemies in the gates. So children, they are a heritage from God. Every child that God has given to you is from God. And this also goes to even grandparents or even guardians. You may be a godparent, you may be an aunt or uncle to a child. You are also, in that role of parenting. So this message is for you. So how can we parent on purpose in this 21st century? First of all, the first thing I have is teamwork. Parenting is teamwork. It's the role and responsibility of the father and the mother. So for those who are married, you have to know that you are in a team and you do this together. The work is not just left to the mother, even from the early stages when they're still infants, when they still need to be nurtured, breastfed. The father can play a huge role. You can play a huge role from that young age. That's when you connect. You carry your child. You wake up to watch them at night. So it is a teamwork. And I'm saying this also, regardless of where you find yourself. Unfortunately, sometimes the family relationship is not always the way we expect it. Sometimes people find themselves separated, divorced. You should still give room and I'm speaking to anyone that may be in a place of separation, you should still give room to the other parents to be involved. It is teamwork. It is teamwork. So that's number one point. There's a verse of the Bible that says one person will chase 1,000, two will chase 10,000. There's power in teamwork. We say teamwork makes the dream work. So that's very important. And even the extended family is also part of the teamwork. So I remember when my kids were younger, I having my sisters around was a blessing. They helped in raising, in doing things around. My parents were there. My in-laws would come around when they were little, spend some few months with us, and it's just a joy, to have people around. Definitely the people, as the father and the mother, you are the primary caregiver, primarily responsible to raise your child, and the people around you will take cues from you. They know the values that you want, and you have to clearly communicate that. But what I'm trying to say here is you need a team of people around you. Sometimes, especially as a new parent, if you're a new parent watching this video, as a new parent, you get very, very possessive. You feel nobody can do it as much as you. You really do need a community. So teamwork is needed for parenting. The other point I want to share is dedication. To be a parent requires dedication. It requires a huge commitment. You have to be committed to the responsibility, and that's why sometimes, especially for the mothers at the early stage of parenting, you might need to sacrifice time from work, time from social events to be there for your child. Do not it's do not neglect your role as a parent. It's important to dedicate time, invest time. The same thing to the fathers, invest time in your children. It requires dedication of time, dedication of resources as well. There will be things you cannot do in those seasons, but because it's God who has given you this assignment, God will always reward you. In your early years, for parents, dedicate money towards your children's future. Dedicate money instead of investing. I mean, if you have the resources to invest in buying them nice things, that's fine, but dedicate money into their education, into their development. It requires commitment. Once your children are like, toddlers, 3, 4, 5, enroll them in activities. It costs money, but it's needed for part of their social development. Engage them in things, classes, swimming, dancing, just things that will expand their growth. So, and all this takes dedication and commitment. The third thing I have is sacrifice. Sacrifice. Being a parent requires sacrifice. It's linked to what I just mentioned, which is dedication. But sacrifice meaning there will be things you cannot do in that season, especially when your children are young. You might not be able to go to certain events. As you all know these days, a lot of events are adults only. So if you have family around, they can help you, watch your children. But these are some of the sacrifices you have to make while you are raising your children. Even the energy, the early years are very draining. Some of the sacrifice means you may not work in places you want to. If you're a career woman, a career man, and you want to work in a fast-paced environment, you might need to adjust that so that you can be present in the life of your child. It's very important. You need to be present. You need to sacrifice time, energy. You need to give time to your children in terms of how you plan your week. Make sure if you are in school, you're working, make sure you have time that you are present. And I'm saying this because a lot of things happen in the early ages of development. One thing I'm very passionate about is the emotional well-being of people. And one of the things I've discovered from talking and counseling people is that a lot of how people view life, emotional health happened in the early years. Was the father present? Was the father a listener? Was the mother there? Was the mom affirming? These are things, a lot of, it's not just about giving them material things, but the attention we provide, being a listener, being in their life, that gives a lot of security to children. So we want to parent on purpose, because children are heritage from God. They are a gift from God. It's not just something that we just do carelessly. We are building a foundation for the life of the next generation. So it takes sacrifice. The fourth thing is it takes attentiveness. As a parent, you have to be attentive, and it starts from the early years. You start looking and studying your child. You discover their natural personality. You discover if your child is an introvert, if it's an extrovert. Extroverted kids, they wake up with a burst of energy. They wake up and they run to the fridge. They want their milk. They are the ones going into the bathroom, like doing things. And you have your, introverted child they will sit still. They are so focused. It's all good. This is how God designed them. But you, as a parent, you have to be attentive. You don't criticize a child. You don't try to make a child like another child. These are some of the traumas that many adults have dealt with in life. Attentiveness. Who do you give where do you take your children to, to be cared for? Don't just send them to any place. Don't just send them to any school. These were the things I did by the grace of God. I prayed. Even from the preschool I would take my children to. God, lead me to the right place. The babysitter I would take them to. Because you want someone, whatever values, whatever things that you are instilling, you want people that will surround your children to be people that will add to that. Attentiveness. Jesus' parents, they took him places, and they really were concerned about where he was at a point when he was not with them. You know how worried they were. They were to go back to look for him. So we need to be very attentive as our children grow. What are we exposing them to, and be attentive to their feelings. Some children are being crushed by aunties and uncles who start comparing them. So you may affirm them for how God made them. You celebrate them. Oh, somebody's quiet, but you see that their quietness, there's strength in it. They might be a thinker as a child. Somebody is more talkative. That's how God wired them. And you affirm them, but you don't want a family member to come and start speaking negative to your child. So these are the things we need to pay attention to. Don't just allow anyone to crush the spirit of your child, and you have to set the pace. A lot of us suffer from this trauma. You don't want to repeat the cycle. Make sure you speak life into your children. Attentiveness also means you study. I talked about their personality, their love language. We talk about love language in marriage. Some people are they respond to words of affirmation. Some people respond to quality time. They want to sit down with you. Some people respond to service. You just want to help out. You see this trait in children. There's some children, they see you doing laundry, they just jump in, start helping you. Some children, they just say thank you mom, thank you dad. That's how they also respond to love. Some kids is about gifts. They just make things from school every day. They come and give it to you. They walk. They go to the park. They pluck a flower. They give you. They respond to gifts. So pay attention to the love language of your child and begin to communicate it to them, because this is how you're also raising them, especially to become emotionally healthy. And this is what parenting on purpose means. The fifth thing I have here is direction. You have to give your children direction. It is so key, especially in the days we live in, when people are being told there's no boundaries, there's no limits. You can just explore, you can just be what you want, you can just do whatever you like, whatever what makes you feel good. No. That's not true. And people who have gone through that path, we know a lot of them are dealing with so much problem in life, so much level of unhappiness and anxiety. As a parent, you have to give direction to your children, and Bible talks about that in Proverbs 22 verse 6. It says, train your child in the way they should go. When they grow up, they will not depart from it. The New Living Bible says, direct your children on the right path. So as parents, it's important that you direct your children. Start early, catch them young. Start with how you talk, the things you do, the things you watch, the things you listen to. These are subtle ways that you are directing your children from a young age. I see many toddlers today. They're like, they don't have control, and just because they are toddlers doesn't mean we let them go. You don't want them to go off the cliff. There should be boundaries. They should know certain spaces, things are not allowed. So you have to direct them. It takes effort, a lot of redirection, but you don't give up. And that's why it's a teamwork. You and your husband, you and your wife, your husband, you need to come together. What are we doing? What's a pattern that you see in your son, in your daughter? And how do we bring it into alignment? How do we, make sure we enforce it so that this child can know this is the boundary and we are not shifting. So these are things that, as a parent, you need to talk through. If you're saying we're not having any sweet in the house, make sure you don't buy sweet, you don't buy chocolate. And if anyone comes to your house and bring the chocolate, you just put it away. You have to. If this is the bedtime, everything shuts down. You have to give direction. As the kids are growing up, you go out to places, you let them know you don't interrupt me when I'm talking. If they do interrupt, you tell them, and I've seen a lot of parents do that. I'm speaking right now. Can you wait? Can you wait? So these are ways that we need to direct our children. We need to train them to be respectful, train them to be loving. Naturally, children are selfish. They want all the attention on themselves. They want everything for themselves. They want it, that's why they cry and respond to them. But as they begin to grow, especially from the ages of 2 to like 5, that's really the time you really, really set direction in motion. And they'll become wonderful children. They'll become warriors that God designed them to be. 2 more points and we'll be on our way. The 6th point is prayer. To parent on purpose, you cannot underestimate the power of prayer. Every child is different. The path that God has designed for each child is different. And even for you to foresee the future, you may have a sense of certain things about your child, but you don't really have the full picture. That's why prayer is important. I encourage every parent to take time to pray for your child. Speak goodness over them. Speak protection over them. Find scriptures to pray for them. I'll be posting probably on my Instagram page some prayer points that we need to pray for our children, especially in this crooked and perverse generation. We need to pray for their mind, that they will have the mind of Christ. We need to pray for their heart, that they will love God with all their heart and their mind. We need to pray that they will have an excellent spirit, that they will shine bright. We need to pray for protection over them. So we need to pray, health over their body. These are the things we need to pray for, that they will also be children that listen and obey. Because Bible says when you listen and obey to what your parents tell you, to what God says, you will be blessed. You will eat the good of the land. So as a parent, your primary assignment is to pray for your child. And make it, in random moments. Yes, you do it during your prayer time, but in random moments, as they are going to their sports games, just pray, God be with you. As they are going to their lessons, their swimming lessons, whatever they're doing, just pray a blessing over them. When they see you do it spontaneously, it becomes part of their life. And ask them to pray also, to pray. Teach them to pray. And the 7th point, which is very, very important, is discipline. As parents, we have to discipline our children. It's part of how we raise them to become healthy. This is something that we do out of love. We correct them. It's linked to what I shared earlier about directing them. When you're giving direction and they break the boundaries, there has to be a repercussion. There has to be a discipline so that they know that you really mean what you say. But discipline, do it, according to do it based on what they can understand. A toddler, you need to discipline them, maybe take some things away from them, give them time out. As they progress in age, discipline them based on their level of comprehension, but do not dismiss discipline. Bible says a father, a mother disciplines a child that they love. If you really love your child, you will discipline them in love. You will discipline, not out of anger. And I really want to really, really stress that. Do not discipline them out of anger. A lot of time when you see them cross the boundaries, you call their attention to it, but do not react at the moment. Think through and come up with what you will do in terms of discipline. So as you do this, you will see your children blossom. You'll see them shine as lights, even in the midst of this crooked and perverse generation. This is really something that is so dear to my heart, because as parents, we have a huge role to play in this world. So I pray you're blessed. I pray you are reminded of some things that you already know, and you see your role as a parent as so, so vital. You are raising a world changer. You are raising history maker. You are raising the next president, the next governor, the next doctor, the next pastor, the next teacher. You are raising, a giant in this generation. So do not give up. It's not easy. It takes sacrifice, but there's a great reward as you do it and as you partner with God to parent with purpose. God bless you, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.